Part 2 of Catherine Pius's book Dolores. I just finished reading chapter 17, and this is where Catherine talks about getting married. She said that when they got engaged, she wasn't planning on having a wedding right away. She wanted to give herself time, maybe a year or two, because they definitely wanted a church ceremony and a reception. And she said that God had other plans for her, and they actually ended up getting married quicker than she thought. And she already knew that Igor was her soulmate, so dating didn't really make much sense for them, especially because they were already living together and they were already acting like they were married. She said she knew the level of commitment and the love he had for her and the kids when he decided to move from Brazil to the US. And so for her, that was more than enough to know that this was the person that she was going to be with forever. But at the time, given the issues that were happening in the government when it came to immigration, ICE raids, and deportation, they were scared that he would be sent back to Brazil and wouldn't be able to come back, especially because a year before he officially moved to the US, he actually had hired a lawyer to apply for an O1 visa to be able to work in LA, and that was still in process. And when she spoke to her lawyer told her that the O1 visa isn't guaranteed, that marriage would be an easier route. And at the time, she was still in the process of finalizing her divorce, and she also thought to herself, what are people going to think? I'm just getting divorced and now I'm getting remarried. And then she started getting anxious because there was a lot going through her head. Not only was she judging herself whether or not she was moving too fast too soon, but she also felt that people were going to judge her, especially on social media. And so they were laying in bed one night, and Igor had reassured her that he loved her and that everything was going to work out. And so while they were laying down, she started drifting away, and she had almost an epiphany where she saw her stepfather propose to her mom. And as a result of them getting married, her mom was able to get her American citizenship, and in turn, it allowed Catherine to leave Canada and come to the US, and then it allowed her to meet Austin, have her YouTube career, have her kids, and now meet Igor. So it was all a domino effect. And then she remembers that her mom got married on October 23rd, which happens to be Igor's birthday. And then she heard God say, you will do everything possible to be with the person you love. Don't be afraid. And that's when she decided, I'm officially getting married. And she told Igor, let's start planning our wedding. They got married 9 months after the proposal, and she hired an official to handle all of the paperwork. Because of the fact that she's a public figure, she didn't want to go to the court with Igor and have that in the public record. And because they got married on June 27th, which was 3 months before the actual ceremony, she didn't want anyone to know. Before they got married, she asked her lawyer if she could get remarried because it was only 3 months after her divorce. And he said, of course, but I recommend that you get a prenup. And for her, her heart dropped because prenups usually have such a negative connotation and it's usually associated with failure. And she just felt wrong. So she ended up creating a legal trust for her home and adding her children as her beneficiaries. And then within that, any additional kids she would have with Igor in this case would also be added as beneficiaries. So if anything, God forbid, were to happen, her children would receive the house and the assets and they would be protected.